So we had a Meyers lemon tree in our yard, and it was not doing well for the last year, and then it just finally decided to die. And after I dug it out, I realized all the roots are all tied in together, and basically I think it strangled itself for the most part, because there was only like 2 or 3 roots that came off. The rest all just went right in a blob. But when we had that, it took up this whole area from about there to there, up this high. And now we have an empty spot. And my wife likes flowers and things. So I figured, all right, well, we'll try and make a flower stand to have, because she also likes seeing them in from the kitchen window or looking out and seeing flowers. So she said about this high, and I happen to have a 2x6 that's 40 1/4 inches wide, and she said about from there to over there, maybe scoot it a bit, but that way we can still get to the hose and have the hose there, but just have a top shelf. So we should be able to fit about 3 containers on top. Obviously they would be more planter containers versus plastic bins, but these were easier to move around for a test. So the plan is going to be to try and make, using what I have, because I have tons of scraps, of course, using what I have, see if I can make a sturdy frame to fit 3 or so pots, basically 40 1/4 inches wide, 20 inches deep, and this is about the right height, so approximately 30 inches up for the top of it. So the next project is to make a planter stand that will help, 1, clean out more scraps in the garage, which is good. 2, let me fill in the spot that used to have a tree, and also get more flowers such that they're visible from the kitchen window. So we'll see how it goes. Here is the spot, without anything sitting there, of where the lemon tree used to be. Alright, I think I have all the wood figured out from stuff I have sitting around. Let's see, here is the, not that it's very dark and people probably won't be able to see, but 2x6 front, 2x6 sides, or no, 2x4 sides, sorry. 2x4 back, 2x4 back, 2x4 legs. So these 4 were from a shelf I took apart. Those can be the side pieces. This can be the bottom back. Big 2x4 for the legs. Another piece for the back, because there's the bottom back and top back. There's the 2x6 for the front. And there's another 2x4 for the other 2 legs. So 2 legs out of this one, 2 legs out of that one. And then I think for the top, since I got a bunch of this 1x1, I think I'm just going to use that for the top. I know a lot of people use the thinner stuff, but I don't have any of that. So at least not that I want to waste on something like this, because this is going to rot over time. So I think this will work. The other thing I'm going to do is, once I get it all cut to size, I'm going to take the torch and toast it like I did for there, for the carving bench. That should let it resist the weather a little bit better if it's toasted. So it's going to be outside. And I don't think I'm going to be able to film cutting it, because I have my chop saw set up out where it's really bright. And the camera is way back there. And I cannot hold the phone while being safe on this. So I'm going to cut all the pieces and then we'll go from there. Alright, a number of fairly quick cuts later. And we have the front, the back bottom piece, the 4 legs, and the top sides and bottom sides. Now I just get to put it together. So here I start with just the front. Get things drilled with some deck screws. These are the 2.5-inch deck screws that I'm using. And just getting it all square and One thing I should have done was, which I figured out later, I should have probably trimmed the side pieces so I can actually had the whole thing actually 20 inches wide instead of 23, but 23 ended up working. But yeah, just clamp, do it one step at a time, getting all the stuff attached. Worked pretty good. I'm glad I have those long clamps. That makes it much nicer to hold things like this size together. And these pieces used to be, those edge pieces used to be part of a fish tank stand from the 90s that I finally took apart. Then this one I realized, hey, this is bent and wobbling, so just used chisel and cleaned it up, and that worked good. Everything held together nicely. Well, that went together pretty much like expected. A little bit of trimming on one of the 2x4s that was warped to get it to be straight on or lay flat on the bottom edges, but it's super sturdy. So the only problem, and it's the normal thing that happens when you don't completely have a plan. I wanted it as wide. I wanted it 20 inches, which was the width of these side pieces. Well, but I had planned on putting the connection like this in the corner so I could screw in from the side and in from the back and just have basic connections. Well, the problem is if you put a 20-inch piece in between two 2x4s, that makes 23 inches. So that's fine. I could go 24 in the space, and this is 23, so that should be fine. But that does mean because it's wider, I do have to go test it before I try and toast outside just to make sure it is going to probably fit. And that's the other reason I did not cut any of the top pieces yet, because I wasn't 100% sure how wide it was going to be. And if I had cut them all at 20 inches, that would have been annoying because they would not have fit. So yeah, so next, go test this for size in the yard and see to make sure if it's going to fit. And originally I was going to put, because I thought I was going to have a back brace on the bottom. That is so sturdy, I really don't think I need any back braces. The side braces, yes, but the back braces, because the 2x4s are going sideways, there's not a lot of racking, and because they're trapped in here in the corners, and because I have a 2x6 on the one side, that also helps, I'm sure. But I'm going to put, because this is, we want to have more light down at the bottom in case we have plants underneath. So I think since the sunlight comes down at an angle in the yard in the summer, I think because the 2x6 comes down further, I'll try and put that in the back instead of the front, which is fine because it's symmetrical. But that'll give an extra 2.5 inches that light can sneak in. And it's not going to be a solid top. It's going to have slats, but depending on how the plants on top grow, there may not be as much light down the bottom, but that's fine. So anyway, a success such as it was, I just have to go test the sizing now. That's not too bad. I managed to get out front where they had done some construction. They had left some pieces of broken sidewalk cement or whatnot, and that works great. I mean, they don't have to buy something. And amazingly enough, it does look I'm going to have, because it's wider, I'm going to have to put 2 legs of it on the patio, but that should be fine, I hope. I'm going to try and scoot it back to the edge of the patio versus, there, but even if I come back to about that should still work. That way the patio is maximized and the plants hopefully aren't going to come out too much past there, because that was one of the things that Tracy had requested, is she has her patio back because the lemon tree came out to about here. So, and then with this like this, we can still reach back and kind of get to the faucet for the hose, and the hose can come down around, and the hose will fit back behind where it sits. And amazingly enough, like I said, it's almost level, just like it is. So that's kind of cool. I didn't look this way. This way doesn't matter a whole lot. Yeah, it's not level that way, but that's okay. It's off by like, what is that, probably ½ inch. But that's fine, because that way a slope is actually better, because that way the water would tend to want to run off. So that works out. And like I said, that's gonna be plenty stable. It does not rack at all in this direction, and because I have the braces on the bottom, it doesn't really do much. And it's gonna stiffen up when I put the top on too. So here I'm working on placing the top pieces. Luckily I had a little scrap that's a little over 1.25 inches wide, and I figured out that that's a good spacing. So then I'm just going through and pre-drilling the holes, and then once that's all lined up, I will be able to, well, one, this helps figure out what orientation the board should be, but two, then I can go through and put pencil marks on and number all the slats. And here I'm just doing an example of what it looks like to burn the stuff, since I'm not doing the whole thing on camera for that. Turns out, don't use these kind of gloves. They sort of melt. I had to use real leather gloves to do the full piece. And then here, I'm putting some Thompsons, some 20-year-old Thompsons Advanced Water Seal on the bottoms, and then putting them in order and screwing them down with the deck screws, the 2.25 or 2.5-inch deck screws. The one problem with the Thompsons Water Seal, it was what I had on the shelf from, again, 20 years ago. I think it worked. It probably wasn't as great as it would have been new. Looking online later, it said it should be fine as long as it's kept tightly sealed. Well, it was tightly sealed and mostly full, but there was some really thick chunks. They probably shouldn't be in there, so I just used the thin parts to coat everything, and it worked, and I think so anyway. It should help. It shouldn't cause it to be worse than it was without it on. And again, it's just, adding a little bit of extra weather resistance is good for an outdoor project. And that is supposed to be an outdoor finish, so we'll see how it goes. I may have to reapply it later, but that's fine too. And you put it up on the sides and go over it. And the one thing that I noticed was the toasting of the wood helped a lot, because the Thompsons Water Seal didn't want to soak in some spots, so that means water shouldn't either. So, yeah, I think it's going to work. I'm not sure how long this stuff's supposed to be good for. It's probably 20 years old. I think it worked. It at least helped. That plus the toasting, I think it came out pretty cool. So I found these rubber feet that I had on a shelf. They were from something that I took apart. And these screws were from something else that I took apart. So I'm glad I keep all these things, because it makes it so much easier to do projects when you have all the stuff. You don't have to run around shopping. But this was the big worry I had, was the wood on the cement directly. So these rubber feet should protect it. So I like that. I'm glad I was able to find those little rubber feet. That was the one thing I was worried about, is the ends of the 2x4s, even though I toasted them good and put a lot of the finish on, that wood on cement just sucks up moisture. With the little rubber feet that I got from somewhere, something I took apart, that'll work great. And I think it's going to work. I think it looks pretty good. The sun's not up yet, or I should say, the sun is not yet shining on that part of the yard. In a few hours it'll be on this part, but yeah, I think it looks pretty cool. And there's just enough room to reach back and deal with getting the hose, turning that on. And yeah, I think it's gonna work. Now we just have to figure out what to put where. We have to reorganize our flowers a bit. Some of these are from last year and really need repotted and redone. And some of them don't really have much in like that. But yeah, I think it's going to work awesome. So then, there's actually quite a bit of space. Because each of these, if they fill up, almost has 5 gallons of water. So that's a lot of dirt. But yeah, we should be able to fit quite a few things. And because these are 1x1s, anything that I put up there, it'll hold, at least until the stuff rots, but that's going to be a while with all the treatment. So I think it's awesome. And then when we have the flowers up here, they will come up enough that you can see them from the window. And because of the slats, some sunlight will get down, so we won't completely kill what's down there. And yeah, I'm happy. The only thing that would make it better is if the sunshine was on it now, so I could show what it looks like in the sunshine. I really like the way the wood gets when you run the torch over it and you get all the grain popping out. So yeah, that's very cool. I like it. I think Tracy's gonna like it too, especially once we get more flowers and this reorganized for the spring and such. But yeah, very cool. Very, very cool.